Hey guys, what's going on? It's MD62 back at you with another review. Yes, I know it looks like we're playing some Battlefield, but we are not. We are actually doing a couple mouse reviews. We're going to be comparing the Chroma Death Eater versus the Logitech G602. And that's probably me getting revived right now. So anyways, I'm going to kind of walk you guys through getting these set up and sensitivity on them, and just kind of the features one has over the other. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to take my mouse and I'm going to put it on my lower left corner, because that's the only place I have room for the mouse right now. And I'm going to look at this pole. I'm going to slide the mouse across the bottom of my mat, trying to stay in a straight line. And once I get to the end of my mat, I'm going to stop. Okay, so this at 950 DPI is where I stop, right? So I basically went from one side of my mouse pad to the other side. All right, and that's kind of what you want, is you want to be able to look at something and do 360 degrees all the way back, and you really want to go right here. So if I was at 900 DPI, I'd probably be about here. And so if I turn all the way around, or if I go all the way to the end of my mouse pad, I'm going to look directly behind me, right? So that's kind of what you want, okay? Now, let's switch over to this mouse. Okay, so this one is set at 1000 DPI. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take it from one end, and we're going to slide it all the way around. And look at that. He almost goes all the way around twice. Alright, so the nice thing about this mouse is we click the silver button. Boop, click it. Okay, DPI just lowered. We're going to do it again. Go all the way around, going around, going around, going around. Okay, so it helped a little bit, so we'll give it another bump down. Now, remember, these are our pre-settings that we already have. So we're going to do it again. Start here. We're going to go all the way around, 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 around. Boom. Okay, so that's pretty close. Pretty close to what we have the Razer Chroma set up. Okay? So the Chroma stopped here, and the Logitech stopped here. Not a huge difference, but I'll show you. So let's jump out of this guy, and we'll jump into our Logitech settings. Okay, so now we're in our Logitech settings. I already have it set up. Okay, so now it's saying we're right here. All right, so what is that? What is that setting? That setting is going to be middle of the road. So 1, 2, 3. So that's 1000 DPI. So that's almost 950. So that's almost exactly where we want it to be. Now we could lower it, and if we give it a click down, we'd actually be at 750. And at 750, this is kind of what you're gonna get. Okay, so we're gonna start here, go from one end all the way around. It doesn't complete rotation, but if you want a little bit slower DPI, this will work pretty good for you. Chroma is a little bit more agile, but the Logitech feels better in my hand, right? So moving around the keyboard is kind of nice because you have this little grip on the side here where you can rest your thumb. And the mouse is a little bit larger, just a little bit larger. Like the hump, I guess you'd say the hump is a little bit larger. So I'm not dragging any of my fingers. My fingers are the proper distance off the mouse pad to where my fingers aren't going to affect the mouse at all. Now if I go over to the Razer, if I'm really getting into it, my hand's getting a little sweaty, sometimes my thumb will drag on the mat, or I'll catch myself using my fingers as kind of like a handbrake on the mat to kind of slow myself down. Now if I go to Logitech, I don't have to worry about that. My fingers kind of sit in a nice ergonomic position. My thumb's not dragging. I'm not using my fingers as much as a handbrake to stop the mouse, slow the mouse down. And if I am, I can honestly just hit one of these two silver buttons, and it'll slow down my DPI, right? So I'll be less sensitive. So as far as DPI goes, and as far as, I guess, the app to set up the mouse setting goes, both mice are really good. And you're really not sacrificing much if you choose one over the other. But my biggest complaint, though, is probably when I'm gaming. Okay, so I'll show you a perfect example. So let me jump in to Battlefield. And we'll just go over here. Okay, now on the side where my thumb's at, right there, I already did it. I meant to run, right? So it has about 6 buttons on the left side of the mouse, which is great. I mean, it's great for for being able to customize it. But when it comes down to it and I'm really getting into the game, I find myself hitting either one of the top buttons that I have programmed, or hitting the button right below it. If they could just move these buttons where your thumb rests, just move them back towards your palm just slightly, just ever so slightly, like maybe even a centimeter, they would be perfect. But if I'll be running sometimes, or I'll go to sprint and I'll hit this button and I'll be running and I'm like, what's wrong? Nothing's working. Now I look down and, oh, I hit the button that I programmed for this. See, if I click that bottom button, it'll bring that out, right? So, I mean, I could probably move that up, but, you know, I kind of like it there. It's quick. I can just hit it, boom, and there you go. So that's probably one of my only complaints as far as in-game, right? So looking at the Logitech mouse itself, it's super responsive. The flywheel on it is fantastic. Like you'll see, like if I switch weapons, so say I want to switch weapons, okay? Boom. I give it a tap, and I'm going to switch weapons. I'm not going to have an issue with being on the same weapon.
We have lost objective Duff.
This guy there. Oh, I'm trying to run. I'm trying to do a mouse review. Leave me alone. So, I would say that's my only complaint. Otherwise, it's fantastic. I don't get a lot of drag from this, and it feels great when you're sniping. It feels just so smooth. It just feels great. And I don't have to worry about hand braking or anything. It just works so well with the mat that I just don't have to worry about when I'm playing. The only bad thing about this, which kind of bummed me out, because I thought the 602 would kind of have the same features as the 502 since it's slightly an upgrade, right? You would think it would. Now the difference between 602 and 502, the biggest difference is these. These are mouse weights to allow customization, right? The 502, you can also customize the buttons and the layout, all that fun stuff. With this, I got these weights because when I ordered this on Amazon, it said it didn't come with these. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just order them and I'll throw them in there. No big deal. $10 well spent. Well, unfortunately, after receiving the mouse, this mouse is already pre-weighted, right? And the reason why it's pre-weighted because it has a battery pack in here. Now, it has room to where I could maybe tape in or throw in the weights, but it's already heavy enough with the battery pack to where I'm not going to want to do that, because I found myself when I go to lift the mouse off, like I can just barely lift off on the Chroma, and I'm not going to have any issues, right? I'll lift off and it seems better, right? And I can adjust the lift off on this mouse, but I just feel like I shouldn't have to, especially when the Chroma just came out of the box ready to go. Wing bang bam. Right, so my only two complaints really are maybe move the buttons back just a centimeter and not being able to have full customization of the weight or the buttons on the mouse. Otherwise, it's the perfect gaming mouse. The flywheel's great, all that. Now, let's go to our cons on the Chroma. Okay? Now, the thing about the Chroma is, like I said, if it was just a little bit taller, it would be fantastic, right? I have about medium-sized hands. So when I first get started, I don't really have an issue, but as I get going, my hands start getting a little sweatier and my fingers start acting as a handbrake, right? And so then you'll start to see is that when I'm going to snipe somebody, my fingers will start to bounce off the mat, right? And that's bad. You're not going to be accurate at all when you're doing that. But it's not a big deal. I mean, I just adjust my grip a little bit. The nice thing about the Chroma is it has these rubber pieces on the side where you kind of adjust your grip, but I won't do that all the time. And sometimes when I do loosen my grip so I get less finger drag, my hand will kind of slip out of position and I'll have to keep adjusting it forward or back just to kind of get comfortable again. Now, that being said, my only complaint about this mouse, my only complaint is the flywheel, right? See, look, sometimes, boom, right there, I'll run out of ammo. I want to go switch to this gun, but the flywheel won't let me switch. I'll be stuck cycling through my sniper. Right? See, there you go. I wanted to switch to my sniper, and it just kept cycling through the same weapon. Now, with the Logitech, I don't have to worry about that. And even sometimes when I'm being really gentle in cycling, it'll still give that right there. I'm being really gentle, and it still cycled onto the same weapon. But that being said, those are my only two complaints. Is maybe make the mouse a little bit larger, or maybe make that hump that sits in your palm a little bit higher so you don't have as much finger drag, and make that flywheel, maybe make the notches a little less reactive, just especially if you're gonna, I use it all the time to switch weapons. I don't, because then my bottom button where I sprint, so my top button here is gonna be my sprint button, right? And so I just click that bottom button, and there's my other little device I can set down. Alright? But that's my biggest issue. You know, when you're kind of in the heat of it and you go to cycle a weapon, I really want to cycle to my pistol. And a lot of the times, I'm dying because I can't cycle to the weapon I want to cycle to. So, as far as pros and cons go, the Logitech and the Razer mice are pretty dead even. They both have one thing over the other, and that's the Logitech has size and comfortability when the Chroma doesn't. But the Chroma is going to be a little bit cheaper. It's going to feel, it's pretty ergonomic in your hand. It has finger grips. I mean, this has a palm grip, which isn't super necessary. I don't ever feel my palm slipping. Especially when it's this ergonomic. So those are the cons. And as far as the app cons, I have those in a separate category in my opinion, because that's not a huge deal. I mean, the DPI setting kind of is, because I want to have that super customizable, right? Because I want to be able to make a 360 and be able to return back into the position I was in. Especially while gaming, especially if you're a professional gamer and you need to be accurate and you want that muscle memory and you want to kind of have the same, you want to be able to switch between mice. Like, I would like to be able to switch between the Chroma and the Logitech without having that 30 minutes in between to kind of get used to the feel of the Logitech again. And that's all based off DPI. If I could adjust the DPI identical to the Chroma, then that would be ideal. But unfortunately, I'm not able to do that, so you kind of have to spend a few minutes getting used to it. Especially in Battlefields, you die a couple times because you're still kind of getting used to the DPI and you're getting your aim down again. So, but I like them both. They're both fantastic. If you want a mouse, a good traveling mouse, I would definitely go for the Logitech. Logitech all day. And if you're gonna be switching, like say you prefer the Razer, all right, and your hand's starting to get sweaty. You've been playing for like 2 hours, and now your mat's starting to get some friction on it that you don't want, especially in FPS shooter games. You really don't want a high friction mat. Then I would switch over to the Logitech. Now, if you're looking for some friction, and I'll do a review on it, so what we can do, move these mice, pull this mouse pad off. Okay, now here we go. High friction pad. You know, if you prefer high friction pad, I would definitely go with this one, and it'll slow you down. It's even slowing this mouse down. Like I definitely am not going to be moving as fast, right? Especially with this one. If you're on a high friction pad and you're using the Chroma and you're playing FPS, I do not recommend it, because this is just too much. Your hand's not going to bounce as much. It's going to drag because it's a cloth pad. But the friction is going to slow you down. If you have a really slow DPI and you add this mat, you should probably like subtract another 100 DPI from your settings, essentially, because that's how much this mat's going to slow you down. And it's not a bad mat whatsoever, but just be forewarned, if you're going to use a control mat, add at least 50 to 100, or sorry, subtract up to 50 or 100 DPI onto your current settings, because that's how much slower your mouse is going to be. Okay, so that's just a forewarning. What am I forgetting? Comparing the two, go for either one. They're both fantastic mice. Both fantastic. For price, the Chroma is going to beat the Logitech right now, especially since this is wired and this is wireless. Wireless is always going to be more expensive, especially when you have this kind of reactivity. This is going to be more reactive, or it's going to be more, the reactivity is going to be more comparable between the two because of the price. So you spend more money for this to be wireless and have the same reactivity as you would a wireless mouse. Okay? So, if you're on a budget and you're looking for a fantastic gaming mouse, the Razer Chroma. You cannot go wrong with Razer. They've been manufacturing fantastic mouse pads to go with their mice. So you can find a variation of any kind of mouse pad, whether it be super fast, or have that texture that you want, or whatever, or the size. They're going to have it among anyone else, in my opinion. But if you want to spend a little bit more money, maybe get one used, right? If you can get one used at the same price as you can get the Chroma, I would probably go for the Logitech, because it just feels so nice in your hand. It has enough buttons to be programmable just about any game. So you could be playing an FPS game, or a rear person shooter game, or a strategy game, to where you're going to need, an extra set of programmable buttons. Also, another cool feature about this is it has this tiny little button here, right? So if you flip it back, that green, that means it's in an endurance mode. Okay? And you can see here, right there, how cool is that? It shows you how much battery is left. This is not rechargeable, by the way. And it shows you what mode you're sitting at, right? If I flick it forward, we're in performance mode. This is optimized for gameplay. Now, there is no real difference between performance and endurance mode while playing Battlefield. In my opinion, I have not seen any difference. So I can honestly feel safe playing in the endurance mode while playing Battlefield. but we'll keep it in performance mode. And the endurance mode is what it's going to do is it's going to conserve battery power, and the performance mode isn't. Okay, so just remember that. So don't think you're going to be having to spend a bunch of money on batteries for this, because you can go into a power saving mode, especially when editing. I'll use this mouse and go into an endurance mode, and it's great. It's fantastic. There is no real change. Another nice thing too is on the fly while I'm playing a game, being able to adjust my DPI with just a click of the button. Now, that could be another con, is if you have pretty thick fingers, you will hit these silver buttons down here. It's just a given. You will hit them. Even I find myself kind of touching them here and there. Now, they're slightly raised here so you can feel it, but if you have fat fingers, I guarantee you will be hitting these buttons, and you will be a little upset by that. So if you have fat fingers, probably not the mouse for you, or even bigger hands, you're not going to want this mouse, and you'll probably want to go with the Death Eater Chroma. So price per performance, they both perform well. They both perform as you would expect from a $60-$70 mouse on release. I mean, on release, these were both, I mean, this was I think like $80, and this one on release was around $75, maybe $60. I can't remember exactly, but they're both very comparable on first release. Now you can get this one for around $40 to $50 to $60, depending on where you get it. And the Logitech, you can get it used from anywhere from $30 to $40, $50 to $60, $70, $80. Like, it just, you can get this anywhere, used, new, for a bunch of different prices. So just do your research on both mice when buying one used, and I'd recommend either one. You can get at a decent price. Either one. They're both fantastic gaming mice. Fantastic gaming mice. And if you're kind of a Razer fanboy like me, go for the Chroma. If not, go for the Logitech, or even go for the Logitech 502, because it's essentially the same mouse. The only difference is it's going to have a wire. That's the only difference, is it has a wire. Well, that and the buttons are customizable. Like, you can take some of the buttons off and make it into a left-handed mouse, and it has weights in it, so you can add weights. So it's a little bit more customizable, and it's a little cheaper. You know, because you'd kind of expect at this price it'd be more customizable, a little bit cheaper, or not cheaper, but it'd be a little bit more customizable, and I guess the software for the buttons would be a little bit better, but that's not a big deal. It's really not. My biggest issue with this mouse is for the price. I want more DPI settings. I would love some more DPI settings. That would be preferred. What else? I mean, you can adjust the polling rate to how many times it reports per second, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I can't think of anything else, guys. I mean, that's all I got. Go for Razer, go for Logitech. Either one, you will not be disappointed. Well, until next time, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review, and
We have lost
I'm
objective
going to finish this
Charlie.
match up. And I'm not going to tell you what mouse I'm going to be using. Maybe I'll use them both. Who knows? I just might. I think I will. I'll start with the Chroma, and then I'll work over to the Logitech. They're both fantastic. They're both fantastic. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button.